I will tell you, I would say 99.9% of the websites out there are doing this wrong, and it's not hard to fix it. The way we make ourselves the hero of our own story is we talk a lot about ourselves. When you meet somebody for a quick coffee date or an afternoon tea, you sit down and you connect with them first, right? You would not sit down for a coffee date and go, "Oh my gosh, let me just tell you, I just had a flood at my house and this is the best plumber and you should work with this plumber." And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't have any plumbing issues." Like, you know what I mean?
Hello, amazing humans, and welcome to episode number 277 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Let me know if you've ever had this experience. AI or no, right? You're going to write the about page on your website and you want to slam your head through your keyboard, right? Even if Chat GPT or Claude spits out something wonderful, you're still like, oh dear heavens, this isn't right. Or worse, you slog through writing a sales page on your website that you're like, this is the one, it's gonna work, right? And crickets, nothing seems to stick. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? If you run a business and you have a website, you know what I'm talking about because everybody has been through that experience. And today's podcast guest, Kris Jones, is going to walk us through exactly why that's happening and what you can do to fix it right now. Kris is a hand selected as a mentee by StoryBrand's Donald Miller. She's cracked the code on turning expertise into sales. After 20 years of crafting stories for giants like Nike and Adidas, she discovered something shocking. A single well told story can replace all your marketing and double your revenue. Now, that is a hefty promise, but she stands by it. And today she helps coaches and consultants scale from 30K to 300K months using her signature storytelling system, proving that you don't need endless content or complicated funnels to attract premium clients. Just one story that's told very well. So if you are skeptical, if you're watching this thinking there is no way that telling a great story is going to make things change in my business, I want you to hang on to your hats and glasses because I think Kris is about to change your mind. In addition, we talk about her book, which I really recommend you get. There is a link to that book underneath this video if you're watching on YouTube or in your show notes if you're listening in, and building a story brand, which is another beautiful book. So we have those linked for you because you need to understand the results that can be caused when you know how to remove yourself as the center of the storyline in your business and on your website. This is an episode you may want to take notes on. So pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Kris, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Boy, are we going to start talking about clicking and websites and good stories. Going to
Yes.
be fun.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I am thrilled to be here today.
Oh, it's going to be good. All right. All you people out there who are like, oh, dear God, what's a website? Do I have to have one? Really? Is this not over yet? It is not over. And our beautiful Kris is here to help us today figure out exactly what works, the biggest mistakes a lot of service based businesses make on their websites. I cannot wait to jump into this. But before we do, Kris, we have to just understand the most important question of all. It's like making everybody's like their brains itch, right?
Yeah.
Out of all the things you could have done, all the different pathways that life has taken you down, all the things you've learned, why did you choose for this to be the thing that you do here on planet Earth right now?
Well, like anything, it was an evolution to get here for sure. But ultimately, I was born a storyteller. I was born very much a visual storyteller. So even as a child, I was making like fake vacation trifold brochures and really like that was the way that I played. And as I grew up, it's really no wonder that I became a designer and
Mhm.
worked in branding, really telling that visual story through branding and brand elements. I got to work with big companies like Nike and Adidas, and I had Jeff Bezos was a client of mine. So I worked with the big guys, but the reality is like as I grew up essentially and evolved, my heart's always been with that self-employed business owner, the small
Mm.
business the solopreneur, the people that are really also on the planet doing the work that they're meant to do, right? That are really aligned with their purpose. Those are the people that I like to help. And those are the people that really can benefit the most from telling a really powerful story.
Yeah.
So as my career unfolded, I mean, I've been doing this for 23 years, which is
Mm.
crazy. I know because I get these reminders from my domain provider, like, you've had your domain 23 years. And I'm
Mm.
like, wow, how have I stuck with the same thing for so long? And it's truly because I am doing the work that I was meant to be doing on this planet. That being said, I've been doing it so long that like I was around in the early days of the internet and my clients needed websites and they would come to me and they would need a website. And this is back in the day when all you needed was a beautiful website to stand
Right.
out online and to
Yes.
really thrive as a business. If you had a website, you were going to do well. And then the landscape eventually changed, as more time went on and industries got more saturated.
Mm.
And the beautiful websites that I was building for my clients weren't as effective as they had been.
Yeah.
And during that time, essentially my clients would write their own website copy and they would give it to me. And then I would take that copy and I would turn it into a beautiful website.
Got it.
And what I watched happen time and time again is that my clients were really struggling with trying to figure out what to put on their potential, like their beautiful website. They knew it was going to be pretty, but what did they say on that? And so they would ask me, and I would refer them to copywriters or give them some ideas, but I didn't feel really equipped to either write their story for them or really properly guide them. My domain was very much in the visuals. And so I had a client named Elise come to me and she was struggling with this same thing that I'm talking about. And she had a background in publishing, so she really considered herself a good writer. And she was a good writer. But what happened is she called me and she was like, I don't know what is going on, Kris. Like, I'm beating my head against the wall. I'm staying up until the wee hours of the night. I'm trying to write my own website copy, and it's impossible. I'm paralyzed. The harder I work at it, the worse it gets. And you're not making those forward progress that you want to be making when you're writing your own copy. And so the truth is, she was not my only client, like struggling with this.
Hmm.
And thanks to Elise, I mean that was a tough call to get because again, I didn't feel fully equipped to guide her. And the things that I guided her to do, which was hire, a couple different copywriters she worked with,
Yeah.
talk to her clients and get some insight from them. Ultimately, what I realized with that project was that you can't outsource your own voice. When
Mm.
you are the face of your business,
Hmm.
this is your brand, it's your business, two things are happening. Number one, you're too close to your own business to talk about it clearly. And number two, if you outsource your voice and a copywriter goes and writes in a silo for you, it comes back and it just like feels off, even
Yeah.
if the copy is good, right? It just doesn't feel like your
Yep.
voice because you can't outsource your own voice. And so at that point, I just said, enough is enough. I am making it my mission to figure out not only how to tell a visual and a beautiful visual story on your website, but how to marry that with really effective story driven copy on your website. So
Mm.
I traveled across the country. I took workshops. I voraciously read books, and I became one of the very first StoryBrand guides, which was before the book was even out, Building a Story Brand, which I recommend every
So
business owner
good.
read.
Yes,
And
for sure.
and I came through that process really understanding what makes a great story and
Mm.
what creates connection and trust on your website. And so I started applying these principles to my own website. And like I said, my clients have been struggling. My website was in the same boat. Like it was no longer attracting the amount of leads that it had been in the past. So I started applying these principles to my own website and things really started to shift for my business. Like almost overnight.
Hmm.
I've never come across in 23 years a strategy or an approach that has the power and the effectiveness that storytelling does. And
Mm.
so, of course, I applied it to my own business and my calendar started getting booked out. I was able to raise my rates. I was attracting clients that had the budgets to kind of pay for the work that I was doing. And also because I could essentially guarantee the results, I knew it would work.
Yes.
And so my calendar started getting booked out with projects and clients. And people were traveling to Portland to meet me in person and talk about
That's so
working
great.
together. Yeah, it was
Wow.
amazing.
So
But
good.
like even better, my clients were calling me, telling me things like, Kris, I'm now charging 6 times more for the
Mm.
exact same service. This is a client who was on the verge of closing his doors. He was
Amazing.
just burned out and attracting the wrong clients and not able to charge the value of what he was worth. And, another client called and said, I'm getting like a record number of lead calls booked. It's really incredible what can happen when you apply a story to your website and
Yes.
people come to your website and they recognize that you're somebody that they can really trust. And the story that you're telling doesn't like pressure them to take action, but inspires them to take that next step of wanting to work with you and getting excited to work with you. And the beauty of it for me was that, like, I didn't have to sell anymore. My website was doing that work for me, and my clients' websites were doing that work for them.
So
And then
great.
when you have tools that are working for you like that, you can get back to the work that you really love doing. There's more time just to serve your clients, and you're not
Mhm.
wearing this like part-time marketing hat trying to generate content and be everywhere at every time. And
Exhausting.
it's exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we really just want to do the work that we are here to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I love what Story has done for me personally, but I
Mm.
really love watching the magic of it happen time and time and time again for my clients. So that's how I got where I am today. And now what I do is I really work with my clients. I help, like, because they're so close to their own business, I write their story for them, but it's a
Mm.
collaborative process.
Right.
So they're not outsourcing their voice, right? This collaborative part of the work that I do with my clients is really essential in making sure that their message feels totally aligned with their voice and really speaks to the nuances of their industry.
So good. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I'm just grinning from ear to ear because that moment when you started implementing this for your clients and for yourself and you're watching what's happened, like when you tap into something like that, that is just so human, first of
Yeah.
all, right? It's so
Yeah.
genuine. It's not like a trick, right? It's not a tactic. It's like this
No.
deep connection we can create, right? Do you not want to just like make sure everyone in the world has it? Like I
I
always feel that
do.
way. I'm like, everybody needs to know about this thing.
Totally.
Must have been
Yeah,
there.
and it's truly timeless. And that's what I love
Yeah.
about it, right? There's all kinds of marketing tactics on Instagram and online and on YouTube, but story, like we gathered around the fire from the beginning of time and shared stories. This is how we learn, this is how
Mm.
we connect. And humans really, our environment has changed a lot as far as like the digital world that we live in, but we are all wired for story, and that is never going to change.
I can just feel the truth of that. When you said that, it's like,
Yeah.
yes. Right. As I think about anybody I connect to or like I love following or all those, it's like I know their story. It's just so true. So we know, I want to hear more about how we can apply story to our websites, but there's got to be some pretty obvious things going on out there that just must like make your heart hurt when you run into people's websites and like your eyes like tear up a little bit and you're like, oh dear heavens. What are the biggest mistakes that service providers are making right now on the websites they do have?
I will tell you, I would say 99.9% of the websites out there are doing this wrong, and it's not hard to fix it. So most service providers and, product providers too are making themselves the hero of their own story.
Mm,
And the way we make ourselves the hero of our own story is we talk a lot about ourselves and we get excited about the work that we do. So I understand why this happens. And people are like, okay, I'm going to build my website. Let me fill in the blanks of the template that was provided to me by Wix or Squarespace. So it's like, but the reality is, those builders, which I love, by the way, I think cloud builders are great. They are in the business of brochure websites.
mm,
And brochure websites just kind of sit there like a bump on a log. What you really need is an effective website that's going to actually get you clients.
mm.
So the biggest mistakes are making yourself the hero of your own story. I liken this to, when you meet somebody for a quick coffee date or an afternoon tea, you sit down and you connect with them first, right? You check
Yes.
in with them, you meet them where they are, you take the time to kind of create that connection. You would not sit down for a coffee date and go, "Oh my gosh, let me just tell you, I just had like a flood at my house and this is the best plumber and you should work with this plumber." And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't have any plumbing issues." Like, you know what I mean?
Simmer
Like,
down. Yeah.
yeah, simmer down. So we want to like really do what we do when we meet someone for coffee, take the time to connect, let them know that they matter,
Mm, mm.
understand the things that are going on in their life, and take the time to connect and show them that we care about them before we even talk about ourselves and our wonderful way of solving problems. And that's what your website should really do too.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So the mistake is like, hi, I'm here. Aren't I great?
Yes.
Isn't everything
Yes.
wonderful? Look what I did. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
like, hi, I'm Jessica. Here are my programs. This is how I can solve your problem. Here are your options, or learn more. That's like a common call to action, which nobody wants to learn more. The other thing that a lot of people
I
do,
love
oh,
that.
let me just say that no one wants to learn more. What they want to do is find out if you're the one that's going to solve their problem.
Right.
So the call to action really needs to be that natural, what's the next step of working with
Mm,
you?
mm,
And they don't want to have to go to multiple pages to gather the information that they need in order to take that next step of working with you. So I'm a big believer in designing for mobile. And that meaning
mm.
when people land on your page, the scrolling action, like this action on your phone, is very comfortable and natural. And
Yeah.
so we want to create a long format, essentially one long homepage that really
Mm,
allows the story to unfold and provides them all the information that they need to make an educated decision about taking that next step with you. So, a lot of service providers have different pages siloed away, testimonials page, services page. And most people are not going to go to those other pages. When you're on your phone, that little hamburger menu in the upper right hand corner, those three little lines,
yes,
they're a pain in the butt.
they are.
They're clunky. They require so much more effort to navigate from page to page
Mm,
than that scrolling motion. So that's the other thing I see a lot. And then I would say the third thing that is pretty common out there is just the design of the page is an afterthought. So I'm a
ooh.
big believer in, you got to tell a really powerful, compelling story on your website. But you also, the design components on your website need to be working to bring that story to life. They need to
Mm,
be in alignment with the story because visuals, like our brains process visuals so fast, right? Photographs are so powerful. And so instead of having a bunch of pictures of ourselves, we really want to, and this is part of taking that time to connect with our ideal client, showing them that they matter, showing them in their happy, successful state of
yeah.
being. So really shifting the lens to make your clients the hero of your story through both words and visuals. There is only room for one hero in every story. So when you're the hero of your own story, you kick a potential client out of your story. And actually, the hero is the weakest character in the stories. We don't want to be the heroes. We want to be the we want to be
I love that idea. That's so good. Yeah.
we want to be the Yoda. We want to be Mr. Miyagi. We want to be, the guide. And the guide really is the strongest character in the story, but
Mm,
they don't really even enter into the story until about a third of
mm.
the way through. So we're somewhat of a background character. We're there and we matter, but our clients matter the most. Yeah.
Mhm. I love this. I love this. Yeah, it's the recognition that like in the Karate Kid, the hero is the Karate Kid, and boy, does his story not go well at the beginning, right? Like it's like
Right.
not a great beginning. Yeah, that's so
No.
good to be reminded. I love
Yeah.
it. So let's
Yeah.
say someone's listening right now, Kris, and they're like, uh-oh, I think I need to redo my website. I think I need to like really figure out what my story is. Could you sort of share with us, one, does that take a long time? And two, how can someone start to figure that out? What questions do we need to be asking ourselves, even if we're going to do a quick update, just to sort of pivot out of hero role to let the client or potential customer become the hero? What do we do to even start that process?
Well, the good news is I have a freebie that will really break it down for you. It's how to write compelling copy in 5 minutes flat, and I will hold your hand through the process, right? So
So good.
that's found at my website, reddoordesigns.com. But to answer your question, the things we really want to be asking ourselves is what are my clients struggling with?
Mm,
Every story begins with a hero that has a problem they don't know how to solve. So we want to start there. What is the problem that my clients are having that they don't know how to solve? And a great way to kind of dig into this is when you think about your calls that you have with potential clients, what are they complaining about? What's
mhm,
keeping them up at night? What are they frustrated about? And so we really want to brain dump that, get that out of our head and onto paper. And
mhm,
that's the most powerful way to create that connection on your website. When you really articulate their problem, so many magical things happen. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel validated, they feel
mm.
not alone in their problem. And most importantly, when we articulate their problem well, they feel like we are the best ones to solve it. They're like
Yes.
their brain's like, if she understands the nuances of my struggle this well, she must be the right one to solve it. So we really want to
Mhm.
take the time to do that first.
Okay.
We also really want to ask ourselves, like, how do we solve this problem, right?
Mhm,
What's our unique way of solving this problem? And then what does our client get to experience once this problem is solved? And the way that I see a lot of people doing this wrong is that they take this opportunity to talk about features of the work they do,
mhm.
which is actually talking about yourself. Again, we don't want to talk about ourselves so much. There's definitely a time and a place to into this story, but really we want to answer that question that they have in their brain when they land on their website. They're asking themselves three important questions. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And what's in it for me? So
Just so
we
we're clear.
just
Right?
so
They
we're
don't care
clear.
about you. We love you.
Right. Oh
They don't
yeah.
care about
I
that,
mean,
right? Yeah.
and it's not like
Yeah.
it's all wired as humans. It's not a
Right.
bad thing. We're just wired to want to survive and thrive. And so we're constantly scanning our environment, kind of going, okay, is this going to help me thrive? Is this going to help me survive? And so we really want to just calm their brain and be like,
Mm,
here, this is why this matters. And so the question I like to ask is, what does your life look like after they've worked with you? What's going on in their life? And then
mm,
I want you to brain dump those answers too. So those are a couple of ways that we can kind of get the ball rolling with shifting that lens from, ourselves to our clients being the hero.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, I just think this is so important. We'll definitely put a link to Kris's freebie, How to Write 5 Minutes Flat. Love that. So good. right? So that will be below as well. And we'll also put a link to Build a Story Brand, which Kris has mentioned a couple of times, because that is I think it's such a critical reading for
Yes.
anyone who does any sort of marketing or online copy. So good. But while we're talking about books, Miss Kris, you have a book that you just come out. So I have two questions. First, I want to hear all about it, of course. But I
Yes.
also want to know, like, what had you actually decide that now was the time to do this? So it's a two-part question.
I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of business owners at this point, and I watched them struggling with the same thing over and over. And, not everybody can afford to work with me, nor, do I have the bandwidth to work with everybody, right? So, the book is really a way for me to reach more people
Mm.
and for them to really be able to take the reins themselves and understand how to implement story specifically on their website. The book is called From Click to Client: How to Create a Simple Story-Driven Website That Turns Visitors into Clients. And it will walk you through the process that I go through with my clients. And so you're empowered to really do it yourself.
I love that. And I'm sorry, I just have to point something out. The title of the book is a story, right? Like, is that not the journey from the click to the
Totally.
client? You're so good, Kris. You're so good. Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
Oh,
been such a labor of love. I've
yeah.
been working on it for a full year
Wow.
and continuing to refine and simplify and really make this the mystery of like the frustration that most people have around their websites. Like, it doesn't reflect me and it's not working to bring me clients. Maybe I should focus on social media, and so there's just this continuous frustration and bewilderment about
Mm,
like, I don't know why it's not working. It's just not working. But really, a lot of what I talk about in the book is really how to tell your own story on your website, but also how to really strategize your business so your website is really the center of your marketing universe. So you do not have to be everywhere. I say pick a couple of things, whether it's like podcast or email marketing. Pick two things. If you don't want to do social media, you do not have to do social media. Pick two things that you're going to do that's going to put you in front of a new audience or new people and point every darn person to your website, knowing that's going to do the job of
mm.
converting and getting you new clients.
Oh, I love that. I love,
Yeah.
like, what a relief, right? Like, doesn't that just feel so calming and relaxing?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, I
And
love it. I love it.
yeah.
Oh my God. Well, Kris, I have absolutely loved this conversation. I think it's so important. And anytime I think someone's really trying to build something wonderful or share something amazing, it's so important to remember who we're talking to and take
Yes.
ourselves out of the equation. I just think it's such a critical skill. And I'm so glad that you came to talk to all the girlfriends about it today, to spend some time with us. I so appreciate it. Like I said, we'll have the links to your book and the free resource that you mentioned. I really would like to get my hands on that as well. I'm so excited. But where do you hang out? Where can people find you? If someone's listening and they're like, oh, dear God, I need me some more Kris.
Well, the
People find
best
you.
place to find me is on my website, reddoordesigns.com, reddoordesigns.com. That's the place that you can find out about the book. You can get the freebie. You can also listen to my podcast interviews. They're all on there. And then if you want to check me out on Instagram, it's at Red Door Design without an S.
Love it. All right,
Yeah.
you guys, we're going to have the links to all of that below this video if you are watching on YouTube, and in the show notes if you are listening in. Kris, thank you again for spending time with the girlfriends today. It's just been an absolute pleasure.
It was such a joy. Thank you for having me.